All right, guys, episode 3, the Rivian Report.
Rivian Report.
And this is Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas
Merry
to everyone
Christmas.
celebrating. Happy
Filthy
holidays. Let's get into episode 3 so everyone can enjoy their holidays and their trips home, being able to listen to this podcast as they travel. So, first up, we'll just go over a couple of the small things we saw online about Rivian. We know that RJ Scringe wished everyone a happy holidays. We'll post up what he posted, but interestingly, just a fun little Easter egg kind of thing that is most likely not any intention for this photo, but you never know. Could be something there with it.
Could be a tease.
Could be a tease. We see a Rivian, basically,
A ski trailer.
a ski trailer. You know, it's like Santa's packing all the presents, leaving out of Laguna. Actually, next stop, Laguna Beach, California. It says for. And we wonder if there's any teasers there. We see Rivian updates on X wrote, "Are you hinting at a Rivian trailer? LOL with eyes." Would be pretty cool to see a Rivian trailer come out. It would fit their niche, you know, with adventuring and
It would sell them.
trucks, and they would sell
100%.
them. Definitely would sell them. So that's
Definitely fun. Guys, I thought it'd be interesting to note, Alex and I were taking a nice stroll yesterday, and we encountered a Rivian bear, and that's actually, Alex has the battle scar to prove it.
Yeah.
So serious battle with the Rivian bear.
Rivian bear.
They don't stand a chance.
No, definitely not. Got scratched right at perfect timing on the holidays. The Rivian bear is my small dog. So let's get into the next thing on the agenda, which was basically a small thing we saw about Rivian sales going. There's a X account called Cross Sell Reports, or actually Report without the S. November year-over-year sales. So last month's sales for EVs were up about 33% year-over-year. So it's good to just see that EVs are going up year-over-year. And specifically, this was in Florida. There's all different reports for different places, but this one caught my eye specifically because Rivian was up 821% year-over-year in Florida. So you can see that they're clearly like expanding into these different territories, different states in a bigger way. And
so
that was a big jump in Florida.
Yeah, the other brands are obviously also benefiting from the overall EV sales growth, but Rivian is the only one with triple-digit growth numbers, year over year, which is pretty great
in that month in Florida. Mm-hmm. And we did see, just to give you an idea of how small scale other companies like Lucid are still doing. They were up 22% year over year, but they were up by 10 units. So we're talking a very, very small amount.
Go into the Lucid.
Let's jump into the next thing with Lucid, which came up. Lucid CEO. We're going to post all these things, so hopefully if you're watching the video format on YouTube, you can actually see these posts on X that we're pulling from and talking about right now. Lucid CEO basically, I think, is trying to do a pivot for the company. He knows that the Model 3, the Model Y are huge sellers for Tesla. He knows that he's not really competing in high-end. Lucid really wanted to go to this high-end market, like they're the best luxury high-end EV. And the fact is they just don't sell many cars at all. They're expensive. People don't really trust that they're going to be able to stay in business, so they don't want to spend that kind of money on a car like that. They haven't proven themselves with the software. I don't think they have what it takes personally. That said, he's now trying to pivot into the mass market vehicle, which obviously, makes sense if everything else you're doing is not working and you want to try to grasp at actually becoming a bigger player. So Sawyer Merritt on X wrote, Lucid CEO basically said this in a new interview. He said, "I've formally stated mid-late decade, and that has been completely misquoted as the end of the decade around 2030. What I mean is not 2025. It's a few years away, but it's close. It takes 3.5 years to do a car, and we've started. That wasn't yesterday. The mid-size line is going to be overtly a Tesla competitor, Model 3, Model Y. This is the first time I've ever said it. We're going to compete in that market, high volume family car." So he wants to, it looks like, compete in that $40,000 to $60,000 range where we're going to see Rivian's R2, where we see the Tesla Model 3, Model Y.
Listen, if you can't build a couple thousand Lucid Airs a year, what makes you think you're going to be able to, pump out hundreds of thousands? If you're saying you're going to compete with Model 3, Model Y, that's what you're going to have to do. I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, on production, it's just going to be extremely hard for them to ramp production to actually scale to that kind of vehicle. And besides the scaling of production, they don't have demand. Maybe the demand is simply because of, people could say, because of price point, but they don't have demand that Rivian's R1 lineup has, and they don't have demand that Tesla's Model S and X lineup has. So it's going to be extremely dangerous for Lucid to get into this. They're going to have to make huge investment to make that vehicle, to ramp it successfully, et cetera. And if they're producing those cars, these are massive factories that have extremely high expenses. If they can't sell them and the demand's not there, it's going to just burn them out of business quick. So
I can see them disappearing.
Yeah, I can see them disappearing for sure. And it's more likely car companies disappear than stay in business, to be honest. It's not an easy industry. Next thing we want to talk about is the new powered Tonneau upgrade. So we know that Rivian's powered Tonneau for their R1Ts were having issues. They made a manual one that you can slide in and out and whatnot, but now we know that people are starting to get the ability.
Yeah, they've got it figured out apparently. It was one of the big things with the Cybertruck that a lot of people loved is the standard powered tonneau cover, and now Rivian's got that figured out. I wish they had done it sooner, but obviously better late than never. It looks great. It looks super comfortable and easy to use, and I think people are going to love it for sure.
Yeah. Now, I did see one report. Obviously, you never know if it was just one mistake or whatnot, but I did see one report where the sound was being a little strange, where like it was making a clicking noise kind of as it was going in and out, and the user was complaining about that. But it could be just, as maybe it was just getting into. He said he thought it was maybe as they were clicking into place and maybe just needed to be like loosened up a little bit. It used a few times before that went away, but I only saw one report of that. I haven't really seen anyone else complain about it. And it's Kyle Connor on X wrote that he ran into a friend who had his power Tonneau upgraded, and he wrote so much better. So overall, I think they fixed it. I do believe Rivian's is one motor on one side. We know the Cybertruck has two motors on each side to pull the power Tonneau. So the question becomes, over time we'll see if one motor's enough. If one motor's enough, depending on what their goals are. I mean, Elon wants to be able to stand on top of the power Tonneau and have it do a lot of different things, whatever. But knowing Elon, he likes to get rid of things he doesn't need. So it'll be interesting to see if he eventually replaces the two motors for one, or if Rivian ends up at some point saying in a future model, should we have two? I'm sure they'd have to sync together well, and it'll be interesting to see. But right now, it looks like Rivian's got it figured out, and I don't think they would put it into market if they didn't feel confident in the new upgraded design.
I'm kind of surprised that it's not the other way around. That Rivian doesn't start with the two. Tesla starts with one until customers complain.
I would have thought that too, to be honest.
Which makes me think that I don't think it's going to be an issue. I think they've got it figured out.
I agree. I definitely agree. So that basically sums up the power Tonneau, at least for now, until we can get our hands on one and test it ourselves. The next thing on the docket is software. So Apple CarPlay.
CarPlay. Also, in episode 2, we talked a little bit about our hopes for Rivian holiday software update. Doesn't look like we got that.
It's Christmas Day today, and we did not get anything as of yet. So we're going to say that they put the effort for Halloween, and it looks like again this year they're going to have to pass on a special Christmas update, which is unfortunate. Hopefully next year they'll be in a place where they can do it, but I'm sure they have their reasons and things that they really do want to put out in updates.
They probably just have more important things to
work on. Exactly.
But yeah, so Apple Apple's revealed their new CarPlay system, and it is a pretty big step forward, I feel like. Basically, the CarPlay is now going to be responsible for some of the like AC and heated seat kind of functions in the car. It's going to work on every screen in the car, and it seems like a couple. What is it? It's Porsche and Aston Martin.
Yeah. So the first two companies that it's going to be coming out for is Porsche and Aston Martin's their next gen CarPlay system that they showed off in a past event. It's finally starting to come out. It'll be interesting. We had this one mock-up from Sawyer Merritt that's also on X. He posted that we're going to show on our video forum, so you can see that as well. And that's on the Porsche. Basically, they're trying to give you more control of not just their portion of things like Apple Music or Maps, etc., but of the car's functionality. Like Dan said, heated seats or control air condition or different things like that, that you'd be able to normally not do, let's just say, on the Apple CarPlay, and you'd have to do on Porsche's software. Now it's a little more integrated. It's expanded across the screens of different cars. But one of the issues with doing this is like so many different car models, so many different types of screens, different layouts, different things that CarPlay and Android Auto are like, they're going to not make the perfect system. Like when the whole point of Apple in the beginning and what Tesla and Rivian are doing is that when you control the hardware and you control the software, you make everything perfect for each other. Everything works great. When you're a software company that has to make software for many different hardware companies, it's similar to when you make... Yeah, and it's similar actually even to the chip business. When you see a lot of these companies, Apple, Google, Tesla, making their own custom chips, and Apple got away from using Qualcomm's, processors and things like that, or Intel's processors on their laptop for, instead of making now the M1, M2, M3, whatever, their own silicon, is because they want to be able to control the entire experience. It's better when you control the hardware and the software. They're tightly integrated. And you get the best performance out of it. You get the best user experience out of it. This is not that, right? This is Apple's going to have to make something that works across different size screens, across different layouts, where some cars have, multiple screens that aren't a part of each other versus one screen versus, et cetera. Different aesthetics for different brands. Now, can it be done? Of course. But when you're Tesla, when you're Rivian, and you're making your cars, you know what they are, you're working on the software specifically for that car, you're going to have an advantage. And that's why we think long-term, controlling the software, it's one of the many reasons, is going to be a huge advantage for Rivian. And but it is important to keep an eye on the competition and what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what the most recent, it is a huge update for, just to be clear, legacy auto. If I'm buying a Porsche and I'm not buying a Rivian, I'd way rather have Apple CarPlay than just Porsche's software, because Porsche's bad at software, right?
That's right.
So there is that. And this is going to be a semi-short episode. I think we're going. Is there anything else you want to, before I wrap it up with the last thing I was going to wrap it up with?
Well, I don't know what the last thing is, but what I was going to say is, I thought maybe we should address some of the not criticism, but just some of the comments about the strategy that we're using, selling covered calls, and selling cash secured puts at the same time to kind of.
There was a couple comments and different things across some people, praised it. Some people said, oh, it's, too risky, or didn't understand it, or, misunderstanding on the explanations. But basically, I think it comes back to the last episode where I basically said it doesn't matter what the stock does. I've put myself in a position that no matter what, I'm okay with the outcome because I know what I'm doing in that outcome. The puts that I sold, if the stock goes below 20,
happy to take the
shares. I have to buy them. People go, oh, are you going to get blown out of your position? So, no, let's be clear. I have the cash. I can move from a different account. I can bring it in. I can buy the shares at those lower prices, and I can hold them indefinitely. So I won't be blown out. I won't get margin called. That's not going to be the situation.
Obviously, with the covered calls, the worst case scenario is sell the shares for, what is that? At this point, it's only like
those 30,000 at $30 is $900K.
Yeah.
So worst case, I could sell them. I take $900K on a position that's currently like closer to 700K.
Yeah.
And I've also got the 22,500 on top of that. And it's not all my shares. I'm still in Rivian for the long run on a lot of other shares. So they're, not a bad place to be, right? And anywhere in the middle, I'm just kind of where I'm at. Plus, I've collected this free premium on both sides. So
just gives you more time to make more money and buy more shares at discounted price.
Exactly. So I feel pretty good with my position. Happy to explain it in more detail if anyone is interested and wanted to comment or is unsure of what I'm doing there. When it comes to our podcast, we know episode 2 had pretty bad volume when it comes to dance.
Sorry, guys.
We are really sorry for that. And we actually ran into a small mistake on this episode, which is we're traveling. I brought a mic for us to use. And sure enough, at my home setup.
What is that? It's ancient.
We have
technology.
This ancient plug here called the USB instead of USB-C. And I'm running off a new MacBook Pro that only has USB-C ports. I had this plugged into my monitor at home, never really thought about it. Grabbed this real quick when we were traveling. I did a drive with the auto train as well from Florida to New Jersey. Basically, the train takes you from Orlando-ish to close to Virginia, but close to Washington, D.C. Drive for me about 4 hours to the train, 18-hour train. I get a bedroom, a bed, sleep in it, no problem. Wake up, another 4 hours to get home or so. Brought this with me, and I can't plug it in, so we can't use it for episode 3, and we were planning to use this, but my mics on my laptop should be sufficient. Hopefully we're gonna
find out.
We're gonna find out because we don't know what this sounds like right now, but we think it's going to be okay. Dan was using his phone in the past, and the mic was kind of it was sitting up and it was covering the mic a little, and it wasn't a good situation, but we're addressing it, and we're going to Best Buy basically
tomorrow
to buy new mics and
new mic.
things.
I mean, listen, in our defense, in terms of at least me being underprepared with equipment and stuff, this was starting this podcast was a pretty spur of the moment decision. We realized that we end up sitting on the phone for an hour or two every day talking about Rivian, talking about news, talking about the market and different, obviously, strategies. How are we going to maximize Rivian's movement? And we just kind of started. We were like, why don't we try and record it? And so obviously I was literally just using my phone, leaning against the candle in my house, sitting on my couch. We're going to figure out a much more, professional and, clean solution. So
yeah, we'll have that solved. If it doesn't sound much better already in this episode, it will get significantly better for episode 4 when the new mics are in. So we appreciate everyone who has listened to this podcast. I'll end it with this photo that you see here of a Rivian R1S on the highway, just to show you that on my travels back to New Jersey, I saw multiple Rivians on the road, and it's always great seeing Rivians out in the wilds more and more. The more they sell, the more you start to see them. And I've done this trip a few times in the past, and I rarely saw Rivians doing this type of trip, and this time I saw more than one of them. So you do see them more out in the wild as they've delivered more, and that's just great. Knowing people are loving them, people are taking delivery of them, and the community is growing. So
thanks for stopping by. Happy holidays. Rivian Report. Watch out for Rivian bears. Rivian bulls are going to be the ones to keep you safe, to keep you warm.
That's for sure. Enjoy your holidays, and we look forward to episode 4. Peace.